Welcome to this session of Materials Engineering. Myself, Anirban Sarkar, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering of JIS College of Engineering, Kolkata. Today's session, we will discuss about that tensile testing machine and its properties. So we are now in module 2, that is mechanical properties of material. And today's topic is tensile testing of materials and its properties. The learning outcome to understand the importance of the tensile testing. The mechanical properties of material and testing. The mechanical properties of metals and alloys determine the range of usefulness and the service that can be expected from the material. Mechanical properties testing provides information on strength, ductility, impact resistance, hardness, and fracture toughness. Evaluation of these properties is essential for proper selection of materials for the given surface requirement. There are many tests to determine mechanical properties. Some of the important tests are tensile test, compression test, hardness test, impact test, fatigue test, creep test, etc. So tensile testing is done on a machine that is called universal testing machine. Why this machine is termed as universal testing machine? Because the tensile testing, compressive testing, bending testing, and some creep test also with some special attachment can be done in the universal testing machine. So as many tests can be done in the universal in this machine, so that is called as universal testing machine. So something about this machine we need to know. So there are two spindles that there which have screw columns, so upon which a adjustable upper crosshead is present, or in sometimes the adjustable lower crosshead also is there, or in some cases the upper crosshead is fixed one. It is not moved by the alloying machine. So first of all, and it is connected through the to these mechanisms of, that is with electronics control panel. So in there are two jaws are there, that is the adjustable upper crosshead that is fitted, that is called upper jaw, and in adjustable lower crosshead, that is the lower jaw. So in between the jaws are held for the tensile testing machine as shown in figure, the test specimen. In case of compression testing, this attachment of jaws are removed and is attached with the compression pad. In case of bending testing also, bending of the material for bend test also, these attachments are removed and the bend test equipments are attached. And if we do creep test here, so some special arrangement is required. A furnace, a small furnace is required inside the test specimens are provided. So as a whole, it is a very important machine for testing of the material. The tension and compression test. The strength of material depends on the ability of material to deal with the load without any deformation or any failure. This property is inherent in the material itself and can be determined by some experiments. One of the most significant tests are tension test and compression test. These two tests are used primarily to determine the relationship between the normal stress and normal strain in many engineering materials like ceramics, polymer, composite, metals, that is cast iron for compression, for ductile material, the etc. Now, in this part, we will discuss about the tensile test. This test is widely used to determine the strength, ductility, resilience, toughness, and several other properties of the other mechanical properties. The test specimen of circular, square, or rectangular cross section of suitable size is preferred from the material to be tested. So, according to ASME, that is American ASTM, that is American Standard for Testing of Materials, these test specimens are designed and machines also manufactured. So, as we can see, the test specimen, the overall length, the gauge length upon which we focus the consideration, and the upper and the two side parts, some length are left to hold that part in the jaw of the machine. The diameter D0 is normally is standard one, that is 10 millimeter, 15 millimeter, 20 millimeter, etc. And the standard gauge length is the 5 times the diameter of the effective diameter. Now, this part where the end part where it is holded into the jaws, that may be shouldered jaw, that may be made shouldered, that may be made threaded, or maybe we may use that is pin end. So these are all the typical specimen for the tensile test. The specimen is held by suitable means between the two heads of a testing machine and subjected to a progressively increasing tensile load until it fractures. A record of load acting on the specimen with progressive extension of the specimen is obtained. The common machine used for tensile test are universal testing machine, house-filled tensometer, instron and materials testing system. Now the schematic diagram of this tensile testing machine is shown, where the specimen is held in the jaws and the lower part of the crosshead is given some movement. So, as from the principles of the application of the load, so that is from Newton's third law of motion, that is from the other end, which is at the fixed end, it is loaded at that fixed center of the upper part of the jaw, also experience a similar loading as in the lower case. So, as if the test specimen, a tensile load is applied, that is two equal and opposite load is applied on the specimen, and up to the fracture portion these are observed, and the load and the extension is written, and then the curve is plotted. So according to the ASTM, the Indian standard gauge length L0, which is equal to 5.65 root over of A0 for round bar specimen, that is L by D ratio equal to 5. Gauge length L0, it is taken 4 root over of A0 for strip sample. For American standard, gauge length, that is A0, equal to 4.15 root over of A0. For round bar specimen, that is L by D ratio is equal to 4, where D is the specimen diameter and N is the cross-sectional area. Here we see that the measurement on the basis of, that is stress and strain. So what is stress? That if a force is applied on a object, the resistance load per unit area is known as stress. What is called stress or engineering stress? The term stress or engineering stress is used to express the loading in terms of force applied to a certain cross-sectional area of an object. That means that in the engineering stress, that is measured, that is applied load by original cross-sectional area. So always in engineering stress, upon measurement of the, before loading the specimen into the machine, so the diameter is measured and the cross-section area thus calculated. So always by applied load, the original cross-sectional area is divided so as to get the engineering stress. Now strain or engineering strain. Strain is the response of a system to an applied stress. When a material is loaded with a force, it produces a stress, which then causes a material to deform. Engineering strain is defined as the amount of deformation in the direction of applied force divided by initial length of the material. So engineering strain, that is change in length by original length. The loading, basically two types, that is here tension. So corresponding stress or strain are called tensile stress and tensile strain. Compression, the corresponding stress and strain are called compressive stress or compressive strain. So as the schematic diagram shows, so on a bar, two equal and opposite forces are pushed on the bar. So the bar is tend to shorten its height and increase its diameter. So while two equal and opposite type of force are given, push force are given, that is called the compression force, and the corresponding stress and strain generated in the specimen, that is called correspondingly compressive strength and compressive stress and compressive strain. While in tension, two equal and opposite pull is given as shown in this figure. The corresponding force is called tensile force and corresponding stress strain is called tensile stress and tensile strain. The stress strain behavior of a ductile and brittle material. First of all, we will discuss about that. Number A, that is ductile material. So in a ductile material, as shown the figure, that is the firm line. So whenever the material is loaded, so uniformly increasing the, that is the linearly, that stress increases while the strain also increases up to certain a point, that is point A. So in this zone, the stress increases and strain also increases, so it is shown as linear. And up to the point that is called proportional limit. The while after that the proportional limit, the stress increases, the strain somewhat increasing in small, so thus give a little curvature between A and B. Up to B point, that is called elastic limit. So if in this point the load is removed, then the material will return back to the original position or springly back to the original position. So that is the due to the elasticity of the material, and up to the elastic point, the material can retain its elasticity. Now, upon further loaded, the material does not remain in the elastic zone, it enters the plastic zone. So first of all, a small increment in stress without a small increment in stress, the appreciably large strains are appeared. That is up to point B to C. So up to C point, with little increase in stress, a large deformations is seen. That point is C is termed as upper yield point. And from C to D, without increasing further stress or little increasing in further stress, a large deformation is seen. So from C to D, we get a point, and this curve little bits, that is downwards. And up to D, that is called lower yield point. So in this zone, the yielding of materials occurs. Now, again, the stress increases, the strain also increases, and we will get a curve type shape up to the point E, that is nearly semi-parabola type of curve. Up to E, that is the maximum strength of the material, we can notice under engineering stress strain diagram, and corresponding strains also. After that, the maximum stress, the material diameters is seen as reduced considerably, and the curve is flattened. If we draw the stress strain diagram of an engineering stress strain diagram, and ultimately the point F, the failure occurs. So point E is called, that is maximum strength under normal stress strain condition, and point F is the failure or the breaking point. So this curve is shown as an pure ductile material. The dotted one line as shown as the ductile material, that is the true stress strain diagram. So while in engineering stress strain diagram, we measure always the original cross sectional area and divided by the corresponding, and it is noticed that after plastic deformation occurs, or after elastic point process, the material diameter somehow it is decreasing trends. And if we divided that instantaneous diameter to the original load, then we will get different points, and we will get the true stress strain diagram. The material after maximum strength, the material's appreciable decrease in diameter is noticed. And so as if we can measure the corresponding diameter and divided by the corresponding actual cross-sectional area of the test specimen, so we will get the true stress strain diagram of the material. Now come to the brittle material. In case of brittle material, These points, that is proportional limit, elastic limit, yields points, maximum, these are not actually shown. So upon tensile loading, these materials are first of all gives us, that is elastic limit, and ultimately without signing any things or any deformation, suddenly breaking occurs. So this brittle material does not applicable in case of tensile loading. So in this case of stress strain diagram is also shown. So first of all, while increasing the load or stress, the corresponding strain increases linearly up to a point that termed as elastic limit, and after that certain increasing load, that is failure occurs for a brittle material. So as it can seen in the figure in earlier, stress strain initially increases with linear relationship. This is linear elastic proportion of the curve, and it indicates that no plastic deformation has occurred. In this region of the curve, when the stress is reduced, the material will return to the original shape. In this linear region, the line obeys the relationship defined as Hooke's law, where the ratio of stress to strain is constant. That is stress proportional to strain. The slope of the line in this region where stress is proportional to strain and is called modulus of elasticity or Young modulus. The modulus of elasticity defines the properties of a material as it undergoes stress, deform, and then return to the original shape after the stress is removed. It is a measure of the stiffness of the given material. To compute the module of elastic, simply divided the stress by strain of the material. That is modulus of elasticity or Young modulus, that is stress by strain. So elastic properties of material. So first of all, the proportional limit. So it is the highest value of stress up to which stress is proportional to strain. Above the stress, proportionality between stress and strain ceases, and the stress strain curve diverges from linearity. As shown in this figure, that is in the first region, that is up to the elastic limit, just before the elastic limit, that is termed as PS, that is the proportional limit. So up to this point within the elastic zone, the stress is linearly proportional to strain, and after proportional limit, somewhat the strain rate is faster than the increasing in load. This can be found out by extending the linear part of the curve and noting the stress value as the diversion point as shown in figure. Elastic limit or elastic stress. It is the highest value of the stress up to which deformation are elastic or temporary, and beyond which they are plastic or permanent. This stress is slightly higher than the proportional limit. This cannot be actually found out from stress strain curve. For accurate determination of this value, the specimen should be loaded slightly above the proportional limit and unloaded. This should be done several times with slightly increasing load at every time until the sample does not show permanent deformation. Ultimate tensile strength. It is the highest value of the stress that material can sustain without fracture. And number 4, breaking stress or fracture stress. It is the stress value at the point of fracture or failure. Next is yield stress. It is the stress at which material yields, that is, shows appreciable plastic deformation at almost constant stress without any strain hardening. The nature of stress strain curve is shown in this figure below. There is a sharp break in the curve when the material passes from elastic to plastic region. The stress corresponding to one is called upper yield point, and that corresponding to the point is called lower yield. Proof stress. Proof stress is reported for those material which do not show yield point or well-defined straight line portion on their stress strain diagram. Proof stress is defined as the stress at which the material shows a specific amount of plastic deformation. If there is no value, then it is customary to evaluate the proof stress at 0.2% permanent deformation as shown in figure. Resilience. The total energy absorbed by the material during its elastic deformation. It is the area up to the elastic load in the load extension diagram as shown in figure. Modulus of resilience is the energy absorbed by the material in the elastic region per unit volume. It is the area up to elastic stress in a stress strain diagram as shown. Modulus of resilience can be approximately found out from the elastic limit stress and corresponding strain. So the modulus of resilience, that is half into sigma 1 plus E1, which is equal to sigma 1 square by 2E, as sigma 1 by E1, that is the elastic module E. Toughness. It is the energy, total energy absorbed by the material prior to its fracture. This energy is the sum of elastic energy and plastic energy. It is the total area under the load extension diagram as shown in figures. Modulus of toughness is the energy absorbed by the material prior to its fracture per unit volume. It is the total area under the stress strain diagram as shown in figure. Modulus of toughness can be approximately found out by using the following equations. That is sigma 1 plus mu 1 by 2 into EF. That is nearly equal to 2 of sigma u by 3 into EF, where sigma u equal to ultimate tensile strength, sigma 1 is equal to the elastic limit stress, and E1 is the strain at the fracture point. Stiffness. It is the resistance of a material for elastic deformation and is expressed by Young modulus or modulus of elasticity. It is the slope of the initial linear part of true stress strain curve as shown in figure. So Young modulus, that is equal to true stress by true strain, both values up to the elastic region. And some of the Young modulus of the common material, which is measured in kg per centimeter square, that is into 10 to the power 5. So tungsten 35.2 into 10 to the power 5 kg per centimeter square. Molybdenum, beryllium, chromium, nickel, cobalt, etc. are given. So it is found that tungsten is the highest modulus of elasticity, followed by molybdenum, beryllium, chromium, nickel, cobalt, iron, and steel. So the cobalt, nickel, chromium, beryllium, etc. are more than the elastic limit point than the iron and steel. So it is largely the iron and steels, this material, cobalt, nickel, chromium, tungsten, these are all doped, and we can make the various type of and various grades of steel of high elasticity. Manganese, the titanium, copper, silver, aluminum, lead, tin also given. The ductility. So from the stress strain diagram, we can define the ductility also. It is the ability of material to exhibit large plastic deformation prior to fracture under tensile loading condition. It is also defined as the ability of a material to be drawn into a fine wear. Ductility is expressed by percentage of elongation. So percentage of elongation is final length minus original length by original length into 100. Malleability. It is the ability of material to exhibit large plastic deformation prior to fracture under compressive loading condition. It is also defined as the ability of material to be rolled out into thin sheets. Since the test is tensile, malleability of material can be accurately determined from this test. However, an approximate data about malleability can be obtained from percentage reduction in cross-sectional area of this specimen. That is given by A0 by AF by A0 into 100, where A0 is original cross-sectional area and AF is the final cross-sectional area. So this is shown as stress strain diagram of a brittle material. So as we have discussed earlier, that there is no point is shown in case of brittle material, that is proportional limit, elastic limit, etc. upon certain loading at a time of directly the fracture occurs. And here in this case it is shown that stress strain diagram for a polymer material, which shows large elastic deformation and ultimately the failure. Now here comparison of stress strain diagram of various material is shown, that first of all plastic, cast iron, low carbon steel, high carbon, medium carbon steel and high carbon steel. So high carbon steel is also behaves like a brittle material, as the percentage of carbon percentage is increases, although it gives much strength, but it cannot show the failure. Ultimately, once upon failure will occur upon loading. And similarly, the cast iron, which has lower strength, not used as an tensile loading, it is used and is extensively used as an compressive loading. It is also a brittle material which does not show appreciable deformation prior to fracture. So with this, we are likely to conclude this session. These are the references. Thank you for joining this session.